This is our Eating Well class, the first one of the new year. I'm Nancy Zlewicki, registered dietitian, and I work predominantly at the Delmar Cancer Center. We're here at the Living Well Northwestern Medicine Living Well Cancer Resources Center, and it's a beautiful kitchen. And future classes, we will be doing some cooking too, so it'll be fun. Yeah, so this Eating Well series is a class designed for people who are active in treatment. And we'll start off, this one, it's what to eat before and during chemo and some symptom management. So every patient that comes into the cancer center, whichever one you go to with Northwestern, they fill out a form, and it's called, it's a PGA SGA nutrition screening tool that's utilized all over. It's a regular form, and it's subjective. It's the patient who's going to fill it out, and just gives us an idea of how you're doing with eating as you come in, you know, to get your diagnosis and be treated. So everyone fills that out, and it really helps us. So if a person scores 3 to 4 points that are nutrition related, we usually call you just to help you with your situation with eating. And then we go from there. Every patient that comes in that's going to be doing chemo, we do a chemo education, and they get this booklet called Nutrition During Cancer Treatment. If you're not part of a Northwestern and you haven't met with a dietitian and received this, I can give you a copy. So we'll do that at the end. But it's called Nutrition During Cancer Treatment, and it's all evidence-based information that we share, and it'll just help you. We're going to cover it. It's about food safety and sanitation to keep you healthy so that you're not having to skip appointments too. And then there are some local support for meals, and the program is called Fox Valley Food for Health. It's right here at the Kane County Fairground, and people who are eligible need to live within 10 to 13 miles of this facility. So we're really lucky that it's in this area, and hopefully that you will be able to take advantage of it. It's a free program, and you would get a volunteer delivers meals once a week, and you get 4 dinners, 2 soups, and a low sugar dessert. And it's free, which is amazing, and they will feed the family. So it's giving people a break, because even if you're the patient and then you have a caregiver, maybe the caregiver needs a break from cooking too, so that maybe they want to take a walk or, you know, do something like that. And if you don't live in the area, there are a few other places listed that you can reach out to, a senior services places that can offer meals. And then, of course, Northwestern Medicine Living Well Cancer Resources. This is a little gem here. We love it, and we've been able to do nutrition classes. I've been doing them for the last 10 years here, and it's been really fun. But we're offering them since September, since COVID and all, we're able to have people in person, and then we've been doing virtual classes all along. So that's been great. So there's 2 types. There's Eating Well, which is for people active in treatment, which is this class here. There's a set of 4 classes, and we offer them twice, noon and then at 5 o'clock. And then Being Well is the one where you're done with treatment, and it's a survivorship program. So you're learning to make better food choices. Like usually they say people who have had a cancer diagnosis and moving forward, they tend to lead a healthier lifestyle. So they're getting exercise, eating healthy, you know, that whole mind, body, spirit. So this is what these classes are designed for, to help you do more meal preparation in the home, follow a Mediterranean way of eating using fresh foods. So that's something to look forward to. All right, so for chemo, many chemotherapy medications can suppress the immune system. And so when the immune system is compromised, you're more at risk of foodborne illness or just getting sick with colds and all. So frequent hand washing is so important. That's like your first line of defense. And doing it often, if you've been out in a public place, you come home, wash your hands. You know, before preparing food, wash your hands. Like doing it repeatedly throughout the day helps keep you healthy. So that is always good. All right, and then food safety. So When you meet with the dietitian, we'll go through all that, but just to start off, like all your meats, poultry, fish need to be cooked through. If you do have something like beef, just, you can have a steak once in a while, but just not a bloody steak. So you're gonna see that heat kills things. So cooked foods, cooked fish, is all important. You want to avoid raw nuts, but roasted nuts are okay. And nuts are a source of protein, so they're good for a little snack if you can tolerate them, or you can do peanut butter too. Um, Avoid smoked salmon and other smoked fish. You want to avoid unheated deli meat. So here's an example. If you do go to get some deli meats, this is fake. Avoid where they slice the meat because there's a machine and people wear gloves and sometimes you don't know when they changed them last. We prefer you get like the prepackaged lunch meat and then you do have to heat it up. You can heat it in a skillet or you can heat it in the microwave to where it's steaming. I give the story of when I met my husband, he was eating fried bologna sandwiches. And I'm thinking that actually would be okay. But we're not promoting lunch meat. We'd rather like you cook extra chicken and use that leftover chicken for salads or sandwiches. But the whole thing is the heat. And this prevents the risk of listeria, which is a very bad bacteria that is associated. And pregnant women have to do this too. So people who are immune compromised are pregnant, elderly, and people going through treatment are immune compromised. Yes.
Does that apply to people like me who are 18 years?
No, this is for
Good, yeah.
people actively in treatment where,
And I still get chemo once a month.
oh, well
The
then,
rest of
yeah, it depends on the drug. Some drugs, you're not immune compromised, but
Oh,
yeah, so you'd have to check into that. If you're on immunotherapy, you probably don't have to abide by all this, but if you're actively getting a chemo agent,
yeah.
you probably should. It wouldn't hurt, especially in this day and age, you never know what you can get. And then we want you to avoid the runny yolk. So you can have eggs, they're a great source of protein, but hard-boiled egg, scrambled or omelet are preferred. And when you think of it, there's so many things you can do with eggs. You can make those egg muffins, you can make a frittata. I noticed in the store that the egg prices came down, but then I heard there's another breakout of avian flu, bird flu, so you may see the prices go up again, but they are much more economical now. But I just saw something on the news about that, so it might be isolated in a certain part of the country too, where you're not affected. And then don't use salad dressing that have raw egg in it, so if things are pasteurized, then that's good. That's a heat treated product, so then that's good. And then with cheese is also a protein source. So your hard cheeses like Colby, cheddar, Swiss, Parmesan are all fine. But it's those mold ripened cheese like Brie, Camembert, Gorgonzola, blue cheese. You see those more around the holidays, so that's past. Try to avoid those because of the mold ripened component.
So even if they're pasteurized, you still shouldn't eat them?
Well, it depends on how it's done. If it's a regular hard cheese that's pasteurized, it's fine, but if it's the mold ripened type, I wouldn't do it. Yeah. All right, and then all produce must be washed before preparation. And just think of it, produce is coming in on a truck. People drop stuff sometimes, put it back on the shelf, cough on it, whatever else. So you do want to wash everything, all your produce. And even the outside of a lime, lemon, melon, everything gets washed on the outside. And it's just running water. You don't have to use special washes. And even getting a vegetable brush where you can have a little friction for things that have a textured surface. I mean, I always see like celery having dirt on it. That's a form of bacteria. So you do want to get things cleaned off. Or if you go to farmers markets, when they start up again, some are coming right out of the ground, so there's dirt on them. You want to clean that off really well.
So it's more of the dirt thing rather
Right.
than, okay.
Yeah, and also just what it's gone through too. Like I said, it's coming in on a truck and it's exposed to everything. So yeah, it would be good. Because there's going to be bacteria on it that you wouldn't even see. So, yeah.
And I always pick up a melon and squeeze it. Maybe I put it back.
Yeah. I didn't think that just washing it with water would do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the friction, that helps too. And then a lot of times you're gonna cook stuff, but when you think of like a melon, you're cutting into something, you could be transferring stuff into it. So even like at farmers markets, they have the health department come through, and that's a big no-no. If people are cutting into melon and offering samples, they don't allow that. So
Well, I
it's,
was thinking more like lettuce and stuff like that that you normally would cook.
right. So yeah, you still want to wash it. And I'm glad you mentioned lettuce, because if you get bagged lettuce, you do need to wash it again, even though it says triple rinsed. And that's same for like, if you go to a certain store where they on site are cutting up like butternut squash, or they're cutting up carrots and celery and having it ready for you, or making their own guacamole or salsa and selling it, we don't want you getting that. If you go to a store where it's pre-cut in a bag, so it came in that way, then it's fine. Or if the guacamole has a seal on it already, it's just better to make your own really. And it's gonna go bad quicker if it's pre-cut like that. So we are more into buying the whole vegetable and doing your own, processing, they call it, cutting things up. So, but if you have energy fatigue, and that's just too much, then look for things that are pre-cut in a bag rather than cut out on site.
So I would think at a restaurant when they prepare, a is that guacamole?
Yeah.
That's right there.
Yeah.
Avoid it.
I would avoid it.
Yeah. Okay.
So we usually tell people, if they go to a restaurant, only get cooked food. So like a soup, a hot meal, because it's
Okay.
gone through the
Right.
heat. Don't get salads, stuff, because you just don't know how well things are being washed or handled. And along that same line, like a lot of times I'll go to a restaurant and I'll cut the portion in half, eat half for weight control, and bring the other portion home.
Right.
But I've noticed, like, since COVID, they bring you the container, but I'm starting to notice that they're whisking it away. So feel free, be assertive and just say, could you bring the box to me? And then
Right.
you're the one who's handling it. Yeah. And then watching storage, like right now it's cold out. So if you put in your car and ran to do one errand, it's okay. But like, if the car's really warm still or it's summertime, we don't want people doing that. We want you to just go straight home. Yeah, so it's just things to watch. Also, they say avoid vegetable sprouts just because those are often associated with foodborne breakout. So watch the news if you hear a recall or, that's happened like years ago, romaine and then scallions. So keep in tune with that. And then avoiding fresh salsa, but jars of salsa are okay because they've been pasteurized. And then also like pastries that have cream filling that are sitting out on the counter, we don't want you having that. If something were frozen, oh boy, I'm making everyone hungry. And then honey also, to avoid raw honey. It's good for allergies, but it does have bacteria in it. So that little honey bear, the squeezy one, it's pasteurized. So raw honey will say raw honey otherwise, and then they say don't get honeycomb either.
Oh.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see that in a little
Mhm.
container. Yeah, and then also your water. So out this way, we always ask the question, what's your water source? Because if you have well water, we don't want you drinking that. So regular city water, or people resort to bottled water, or they buy those gallons. Yeah, so don't drink well water or any water from
I'm
lakes or
sorry.
streams.
You say what
and
kind of
then
water
also-
not to drink?
Oh, I'm sorry?
What kind of water did you say not to drink?
Don't drink well water.
Well water. Okay.
Well water. I'm sorry, look, she was talking. I'm like, where's that voice? Yeah, forgot we had a virtual audience. Sorry. And then also sun tea. Making sun tea is a no-no too. Like, it's better to boil the water and then do your tea. And then also like unpasteurized fruit juices. So if you went into a store and they're like making freshly squeezed orange juice, like a big display, oh, buy our fresh, we don't want you doing that because we don't know that they washed it. And yeah, and even if you go in the produce department, they have those juices too. If it's not pasteurized, you got to avoid it. So we're not that big on drinking a lot of juice. I feel like there's a lot of sugar that way. It's better to do water, and then sometimes I'll put a little bit of juice and add sparkling water just to give it some flavor. So, but we're not big on drinking a lot of juice. Yes.
It's the page before, but why would you need to avoid raw nuts?
Okay, so the question is, why would we avoid raw nuts? And that's just because they're not been heat treated, that there could be, heat kills stuff. So, you know, we just don't know.
But
How
it
it's-
can be something right in the nut? too?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So if you had to, we don't want you to throw them out. You can use them. You can put them in a little skillet and heat them up, or you can put them on a sheet pan and toast them. But I have to warn you, they go really fast. Like, it doesn't take very long. You'll start smelling that nutty flavor. I would probably look it up, you know, ask Alexa or whatever and say how long, because it's a short time, like 5 minutes maybe, where they can, you know, burn on you.
I just don't buy them. Wouldn't buy raw then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you had like walnuts, like you might be using those for baking, that would be okay, because like if you made banana bread with walnuts, because a lot of times they are raw, like you get them in the baking section. But by making the banana bread, the heat of that, but it will take care of it. So,
Nancy, we have a question in
Yeah.
the chat, which is a great question. Are raw nuts okay if we use them in a cooked recipe?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, if they're in a cooked thing where heat's involved, it would be okay. Yeah, those are good questions. Yeah. Yeah, and then the next slide is with the honey. So just to be careful with that, you know, you want like a pasteurized honey. I always read the label too on honey, because it's sometimes what looks like what it might be, you think it's 100% honey. If you look at the label, sometimes the first ingredient is fructose, and so you're getting this mix of other ingredients. And you know, same with olive oil. Like if it'll say, like if you're in the store and you're buying things quick, you're like, oh, olive oil's on sale, and you throw it in your cart. Look at the label, because sometimes there's soybean oil and other things. You want it to be 100% extra virgin olive oil. And then I look at the ingredients to be sure. And then sometimes it's just fun to see where it was cultivated. So sometimes it'll say the olives came from Spain and Greece or Italy, or that's kind of fun to, because we were in Italy way before COVID, and they were telling us that one olive tree makes 1 bottle of olive oil. I thought, oh my gosh. And so Italy has to sometimes import olives frozen from other countries. But I think like Spain and Greece are the biggest producers of olives. So, but yeah, I didn't know it was like frozen olives coming in. So when they say cultivated, it means that those olives were grown in that country. But if it has a mix of others, it means that some were brought in a frozen state. So,
Good to know.
yeah, and we love using olive oil. Like, that's all I use, and I use it for everything, and it's great. So, and for along that, we're kind of taking a side trip here, but I just don't keep a lot of different oils, because they can go rancid and they're expensive. Like even a little bottle of sesame oil, if you're only using it once in a while, it can get pushed to the back. And but I do keep a variety of vinegars, because I like using all those. So,
That's balsamic vinegar.
you know,
Vinegar.
vinegars last a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah, they don't really go bad. Like apple cider vinegar, you'll see a sediment, but you just shake it and it's fine. It doesn't mean it's going bad. So, yeah, it's kind of fun. I keep wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, olive oil, or red wine vinegar, balsamic, and apple cider vinegar. And sometimes when they get exotic, like raspberry vinegar, I really don't want to buy that. So I'll just take like a white wine vinegar or a white balsamic, and I'll put raspberries and let them soak in there for a while. And I just throw everything then into my salad. So you're getting the raspberries, and then you're getting the flavor of the vinegar. So anyhow, yeah, so then back to food safety. So other things like thawing meats, you want to thaw them in the refrigerator. So you put them on the lowest shelf, and that's so that the raw drippings don't drip down onto anything else. But I always put like paper toweling, or if it's something like poultry, I put it in another bag, like even just one of those little grocery bags with no holes in it, to let it do its thawing in the refrigerator that way. Because sometimes when it's frozen and you can't see a pinprick in the packaging, it could leak out. I worked for Butterball Turkey. I was the Butterball Turkey Talk Line lady for 10 years. And that was something we always said, is put something underneath it, because if there's one little prick, it can get a mess of liquid in your, and those are very perishable juices, like bad, you know, salmonella related. So But same with meats too. It's a big mess to have to now clean your refrigerator from this leaky package. So do that, and then don't thaw things on the counter like meats. Yeah, and then just thoroughly washing your produce, little brush. Don't use soap, bleach, or any other rinse. And then just using your senses too. When you take things out of the refrigerator, use your eyes. Like, what does the texture look like? Touch. Is it getting kind of soft, like a red pepper? Is it getting too soft? Is there a sliminess to it? And then your nose too, like smells. And so we say, if in doubt about something, just get rid of it. We don't want you taking
Throw it
risks.
out.
Yeah, if in doubt, throw it out. Yeah. And same with eggs. You open a carton of eggs and there's one egg with a crack in it, throw that one out. The others should be okay. And then watch your expiration dates too. Sometimes eggs could be sitting in the refrigerator and you're like, gosh, how long have I had these? So then look on the box for the expiration date. It's just good to know. And then going through your pantry, everyone should be doing that. Like every 3 months, just go through and it's kind of fun. When you go through your pantry, you're also thinking, oh, I got this, I can make this, and then just start setting things out and make like a soup or, just to utilize things because you don't want that pantry to get so laden with products. Yeah, and with food costs these days, we don't want to be wasting stuff. We really don't want to be throwing things out. We want to stay on top of it. I was just on a vacation in Florida for 2 weeks, and before I left, we were like the 2 weeks before we were leaving, I was just like using everything up. And then I cleaned my whole refrigerator and it looked sparkling and I had no produce in there when I left. And now it's like, I told my husband, because he was gonna go off to Costco and get stuff. And I go, oh, just don't load it up again, I like it, where you can like, okay, I got this, I'll make this week. And just to keep control over it, so. And then avoiding cross-contamination. A lot of people know what that is, but just to review, like if you had your cutting board and you were gonna take any type of meat, whether it's fish or beef, pork, poultry, you take it out and cut things up and put it in a baking dish, stick it in the oven. Then with that cutting board that has the juices on it, you gotta ideally just put in the dishwasher and then get a new one. But you have to wash the knife and clean up the surfaces because any of those drips and all you don't want getting around. You don't want raw juices coming in contact with cooked meat. That's cross contamination. You could have some problems. And then a thermometer is always really good, especially for meats and everything, those are the eyes to the product to tell you that it's truly done. So using the temperature thing. And I know in future classes, we have some tables that you'll be seeing that give the temperature for certain meats, what they should be. So as far as dining out, I feel like that is a big part of many people's lives. It's a social thing. So we don't want to take that away from you, but we just want you to kind of approach it carefully. So like trying to go early. I kind of like eating early because then you have that evening to digest your food. You're not going to bed so full. But go early so you're avoiding the crowds and choose places that they don't just pack everyone in, that there's some space between. We want you, if you start seeing salad bars coming back and smorgasbords, they might be, you do want to avoid anything there public has access to it. So avoid salad bars, buffets, smorgasbords, potlucks, and even sidewalk vendors. We don't want you having that. If there's like in the summer, there's a gathering and a graduation party and that's how they're doing it, you just be the first person in line, you have permission. So it's not sitting out and other people aren't coughing and everything on it. So, and then again, we were saying avoid salads when you eat out, just because we don't know how well they're being washed. And hot cooked foods at a restaurant are generally safe. Sometimes if you go to like a fast food place, like there's some nicer fast food where you can get more of a healthier meal. I don't want to name names, but you know what I mean. But say you go there and you can see where they prepare foods. If you notice that those gloves, like you might be in line for a bit and you're watching, when's the last time they changed their gloves? Feel free in a nice way to say, excuse me, would you be able to change your gloves? I need to be careful, such and such. Because sometimes it's a teachable moment. Sometimes it could be a young crowd that doesn't even know. So, and even like at a deli thing, we're not really big on the deli just before that reason. But yeah, gloves sometimes get abused, where once they have gloves on, they think they can do everything, opening refrigerators and doing this and this. So kind of be careful that way. But I think when people ask nicely, you get a better response, so. So now to supplements. So usually we try to, every patient coming in, we ask, are they taking over-the-counter supplements? So what we don't want is multiple vitamins, vitamins A, C, E, zinc and selenium. So what happens is, so you've got your chemo going on, that's gonna kill the bad cells, that's the intent. But if you take these supplements that have the A, C, E, selenium and zinc, that's trying to protect all the cells. So they're actually working against each other. So we don't want people taking supplements while they're going through treatment. There's a few exceptions to the rule, like vitamin D, calcium is okay. But even like fish oil, a probiotic is on the fence. We kind of treat it on an individual basis, but because maybe someone with breast cancer could take a probiotic, but maybe someone else couldn't. So we kind of do that individually on what's going on with the person. But omega-3 fatty acids, fish oils, turmeric, CoQ10, any like herbal supplements, we don't want you taking. We want you to eat a variety of foods like fresh fruit and vegetables, because that's where you're going to get those nutrients. We don't want you to rely on supplements for the nutrition. So try to eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Yes.
Turmeric. I mean, you can cook with that, so
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
using it as a
Right.
spice. it's
Exactly.
okay. Okay.
So the question was, can you use turmeric in cooking? And yes, definitely. Same with cinnamon. Some people take cinnamon high doses.
Yeah.
You can cook anything like turmeric, which another name is curcumin, and then cinnamon, like we use fresh garlic and onion to give food flavor. All that is fine. But it's those extracts or high doses, that's what we want to avoid. A pill form, we want you to avoid. So that's a very good question. And also the FDA does not regulate herbal supplements or supplements. So that's why it's just, we can't assure that it's going to be safe. But usually people who take calcium and vitamin D, B12, and a B complex, as long as that B complex does not have vitamin C added, that's very common. You'll pick up a container B complex and it says with vitamin C. You got to really watch that. But the B vitamins are okay. And then also glucosamine is okay too. So we get that question a lot. Iron and magnesium are also okay. A lot of times we'll just say, if people are just doing it themselves, we'll say, did your doctor order this for you? And they say no, then we're like, probably don't take it. Because sometimes people self-prescribe stuff. So like iron, if it's been prescribed, for sure, do it. But otherwise, maybe not. Because your blood work is all going to be checked each visit, and that's where they can determine if you're deficient in anything. Right, so then another thing with your protein needs are increased during cancer treatment. And so we want you to, if you like 3 meals a day and you're not experiencing side effects and that works for you, that's fine. Just include protein with each meal. But if you notice, once you start treatment and you notice that you fill up more easily or your appetite has gone down, then we'll suggest try to eat small, frequent meals and snacks, like 5 or 6 times a day, but have those snacks to contribute to your nutrition. And it is kind of nice because you avoid that overfull feeling, so it does allow for more digestion. But things like, it doesn't have to be difficult, like an egg in the morning is great, but you can even do cheese on a piece of bread or peanut butter on a piece of bread or crackers. If you can tolerate nuts, those are also a source of protein. Cashews are softer, so they're much more easily tolerated. I always say digestion starts in your mouth. So chewing foods well is going to help with the digestion, and also taking time with meals. Sit down and eat, nothing rush, because that can add stress to you. It might give you some, discomfort. So just making a process of it. Also, tuna is good too. And I've started getting those little packets where they're individual portions, like you don't even have to drain it and stuff. So I'm like, this is really handy. So I'll sometimes bring that in my lunch, and you can get low sodium, and I always make a little dish of celery, maybe a few dried cherries and a little bit of mayonnaise and mustard, and then just mix it together. But it's actually good, and you're getting protein that way. But eating enough protein can help you keep your muscle mass and support overall health, strength, and healing. The other thing with the muscle mass, like you're trying to prevent losing your lean muscle mass. So you can eat protein, but you also have to move around. So if you're not able to get out much, try to get up every hour and do a lap around your place, inside. If you feel fatigued or you feel a little unsteady, you can walk, hold furniture as you go, but it keeps the muscles moving, and that helps with maintaining your muscle mass. But if you're feeling okay, like a day like today, it's a little bit warmer. I said that, and then I got to my car and it was kind of windy, so not that warm, but I think this weekend it's going to be a little bit nicer. So I'm planning to take my walk, and it just makes you feel good. It keeps you loosened up. Yeah, but not meeting your protein needs over time can lead to a form of malnutrition. Sometimes we think malnutrition's in third world countries, but people going through treatment are susceptible to malnutrition. If they can't eat and they're losing weight and they lose muscle mass, they would be considered malnourished, and we're trying to avoid that. And sometimes those patients who struggle do end up trying some of these nutritional beverages. We prefer, while you're going through treatment, if you're feeling fine and you're eating well, just eat regular food, a variety, eat for color. But if you are struggling at the end, if you want to taste any of these, you can, but you might have to resort to these. But protein sources are eggs, dairy, milk, yogurt, cheese, fish, poultry, pork, and beef. And then plant sources would be nuts, seeds, lentils, legumes, and whole soy foods like edamame and tofu, tempeh and miso are sources of protein. So some of those snacks in between could be cottage cheese and some fruit also. And soups are good too. Those can be very nourishing, and I always like to make my own. So this week I started off making like a little stir fry with broccoli, onion. I had a little bit of steak, but I only use a smaller amount because I want more vegetables in it. But then I did have some leftovers. So the next day I cooked up some noodles, and then I added a few different vegetables, and I added beef broth, and it turned into a soup. So just trying to, and I had a can of beans too, but I just trying to use stuff up. And then tips for adding protein to your diet. So, you can make your own smoothie, but you don't want like a fruit smoothie. You want to have yogurt in it. Yogurt's going to give you the protein and the probiotic effect. You can add nut butters or even a protein powder if you want. But when we say you have increased need for protein, it doesn't mean now you suddenly have to be drinking all these protein things. That's not what we're saying. Just like each meal, each snack have a form of protein, and you should be able to meet your needs. But if you have a salad, you can add some beans to it if you want for a little extra protein, or an egg. And even in those soups, add some beans too. I think growing up, we really didn't use beans very much. It was more like baked beans, and now we've just been so exposed to it that how healthy they are and inexpensive, and they really are delicious. Sometimes if I'm making tacos, I might use half the amount of meat and throw in a can of black beans just to stretch it out kind of. And if a person's struggling with getting enough calories, go to a whole milk dairy product. Don't get low fat cottage cheese, get the 4% milk fat one. Same with yogurt. If you're struggling to get enough calories, don't use skim milk yogurt, get the higher fat one. So those are little tricky ways. You're eating the same amount, but you just increase the calorie content. And avocados are great for that too, because they're packed with healthy fat. And most people like them, but that's going to add some extra calories too. I wish they weren't so high in calories because I'd want to eat more, but anyhow. Yeah, one of our interns suggested mixing cottage cheese with avocado. She does it every day. Still haven't tried it, but I sometimes will make pasta and throw a whole avocado in and mash it up with a little Parmesan cheese and sometimes zucchini and little tomatoes, and it's really delicious, warmed like that. Yeah, and then, you can add ground turkey or tofu crumbles to marinara. I mean, it's totally up to you, or just make your regular way of doing it and maybe increase the cheese too. All right, so just some roles of protein. It helps the body maintain muscle mass. Cancer treatment is a time when the body needs a lot of energy from food sources. And when it does not receive adequate energy from food, the body starts breaking down muscles for energy. So you're losing your protein. And less muscle leads to weakness, and we don't want that. Protein is needed for the immune system to function. And if the body's weak, then the immune system cannot fight off infection. So adequate protein intake before and during treatment can help support the immune system. Protein's needed to help build new cells. It's important to maintain a healthy level of blood cells so that the body can heal and recover. So it's got a really big role. And a lot of people, when they finish treatment and say maybe they want to now like even try losing a few pounds, we always suggest get your protein in because that's going to help you. Well, a lot of people use this Premier Protein as a weight control, like for breakfast, have it. I just learned that my son.
That I've been living on,
Have you?
yes,
How much do you have a day, would you say?
at least 2.
Okay,
And I mean, there's been times I haven't been able to eat anything,
okay,
so I'll try to drink like 3.
yeah. It's not
But
that
you
high.
have to have a variety of flavors because you never know what's gonna taste good on a given day.
Right. Yeah, this Premier Protein, you can get it anywhere. It's all over Costco, Target, all those places. But it's only got like 160 calories, but it's got 30 grams of protein, which is really awesome. Yeah, I just learned that my son's drinking it for breakfast every day. It's pretty popular. But yeah, and you can even doctor it up if you want to. You could put some ice cream in it to increase the calories. This one's cafe latte. We can sample this at the end. It's really good. It also comes in a few other flavors. So also on treatment day, sometimes people are just, and it's understandable, anxious and, you forget to eat breakfast. So eat before you come and then pack yourself, depending on how long you're going to be at the cancer center, pack yourself a little lunch bag. The cancer centers cannot heat food up and they can't refrigerate anything. You just have to have your own little container with an ice pack, or if you wanted to bring soup, put in a little thermos. But plan it out so you have your own food. They have some snacks at the cancer centers. It's more like Lorna Doones, some cookies and pretzels, but you might want something with a little more oomph to it. So even like a cheese stick or things like that, they're handy. Fine. But yeah, it can cause some nausea if you don't eat before
had
you come. Right. Yeah, and then again, if
Hello?
the appetite's low, try to do that small, frequent meals and snacks. So here's a few examples of some easy things to have, like plain yogurt with berries and granola. Sometimes I've shared this before, but sometimes I'll take a container of blueberries, put in a little saucepan, and I might squeeze a little lemon juice in it. And then I put a lid on it and I let it low heat cook, and it turns into this gel. And so that's really tasty, warm blueberry compote would be on cold yogurt. It's really tasty. And then, if you make a big enough batch, you can get it for a couple more times, like even putting it on warm oatmeal or even cold on something's really good. If you don't want to just eat blueberries. So it's up to you, just changing things up a little. And then a scoop of chicken, egg, or tuna salad over some mixed greens, some sliced hard-boiled egg sandwich with lettuce and tomato, fruit and Greek yogurt smoothie, whole grain toast with peanut butter and banana slices. To me, a comfort food is toasted bread, peanut butter, and some honey on it, Or some people will have I like to do open-faced toasted cheese sandwich with maybe a bowl of soup. Meals don't have to be elaborate. You want blander, more comfort type food, just to see how you do initially. And then aim to balance your meals. It's important that you strive for balanced meals with meals and snacks. Get carbohydrate, protein, and fat. The healthy fat, which is the olive oil, the nuts, all the things we've been talking about. But eggs are wonderful. Sometimes my husband's out of town and I have to make my own dinner. I just might make some eggs and toast. It's fine. It's a simple meal and it's nutritious. I like to use whole grain toast. If you're not having any digestive issues, it's better to get the whole grain toast because it gives you fiber. And so that's good. But if you're struggling with side effects, gastrointestinal side effects, go to the white bread until things are better. And then, oatmeal is always really good. Avocado toast is a nice thing. Yeah, keeping meals simple, and then soups are wonderful. And, if people ask you, what can I do for you? Like, if they can make you a homemade soup, it would be nice, I think sometimes people want to help, but they just don't know how. So if you can have like a little, like, oh, return my book to the library, or little things, it makes people feel good that they're helping somebody. Some other snack ideas: yogurt with fresh berries, cottage cheese and fruit, a yogurt smoothie, even simply crackers and cheese, peanut butter with pretzels. Even I like peanut butter and banana, or apple slices with peanut butter. Hummus is an easy thing to have with some raw veggies. Mashed avocado, like a simple, like if I made mashed avocado, I might put a little lime juice, maybe a few little granules of salt. I'm not a big salt user, but I like a little bit of flavor. And then you have that with some tortilla chips if you want. String cheese with fruit, peanut butter and jelly is even fine. And then, all right, so these are some of the myths out there. I know we get the question a lot, about the myth that sugar feeds cancer. We're not trying to put any fear in people. We just want you to eat healthy. And we just want you to have regular good food. Like, we don't want you to have like coffee cake for your lunch. Like, that would not be good. There's no what? She's being funny. There's no nutritional value to it. Like, it might be convenient, but it's not going to hold your hunger, and that would be like sugar you're just eating. So occasionally a little piece of candy like dark chocolate or something is totally fine. We just don't want you to replace a meal or snack with the junk or the candy. So we don't put fear in people. Oh, you're promoting cancer by eating that. No, we don't do that. Really, it's more for a weight control thing. Like, when you get away from sugar, your taste buds kind of readjust, and you start losing that desire for the sweetness. And that's the same with salt too. If you start really cutting down on salt and using things like onion and garlic to flavor food, I rarely even use a salt shaker. I'm more black pepper, things like that. You lose that desire for it.
If you get one of those misters, like for oil in there,
yeah.
and do vinegar,
Oh, yeah.
like on eggs,
Mhm.
anything with bean soup and instead of salt, it really enhances the flavor.
Nice. What type of vinegar?
I usually use apple cider.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, doesn't take much, and it really makes a big
Yeah,
difference.
so I'm not sure if everyone heard that, but
Yeah, scrambled eggs, omelets, just spray a little vinegar on it.
yeah, if you're having scrambled eggs or omelets, you can have a little spritzer bottle with apple cider vinegar is fine, and just spritz it on, and it gives some flavor. Vinegars are so good with giving flavor. Also mustards too. Use a lot of that for the flavor enhancement. Yeah. So to round things up, like goals for going through treatment is strive for adequate protein intake, maintain your hydration. So you want 64 ounces of liquid a day. So you can do water bottles, you can do tap water if it's city water, it's not well water. A cup of coffee in the morning is fine. It can contribute a little bit, but we would rather get more water. A brothy soup contributes to fluid, but you want to see that you're meeting it, kind of calculate it one day that you're getting 64 ounces. I know when I was younger, we didn't carry water bottles around. It was, you were thirsty, you ran to the garden hose, So it's different now. A lot of the young people these days are really into hydration. So sometimes some of us have to like re-educate, like, oh yeah, we need to hydrate. And you do feel better when you're fully hydrated, you feel good. And then consider the eating 4 to 6 small meals and snacks. And then it doesn't hurt to jump on the scale a couple times a week, just to check in to make sure you're getting enough calories that you're holding your weight. And then don't take the over-the-counter supplements, the ones that we say not to, like the multiple vitamins A, C, E, selenium, and zinc. Try to get a variety of color in your diet to get your nutrition that way. Rest when needed. Listen to your body. Rest helps relieve fatigue, but also getting up and moving around sometimes can relieve fatigue too. Just don't overdo it. and do light exercise if you're able to.
Couple of times they say adequate protein intake. What's an adequate protein?
Yeah, I mean, when we meet with you, dietitian meets with you, we know what your protein
Oh,
needs. We figure it out. It's based on your body weight and we have a calculation we do. But instead of, having people worry about that, being too detail oriented, we just say, have protein, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and have some snacks. So just keeping it on the forefront that you need your protein.
Oh, okay.
Be good. Yeah, and so the benefits of good nutrition through cancer is to maintain energy and strength, maintain your body's nutrient stores so that you're eating properly, you maintain your weight, and then that we'll come by and see you, and our goal is to help you manage any side effects. I have to say, one of the hardest ones to manage is taste changes. That can be a real tricky one, because sometimes it's beyond the control. It just is what it is. So we'll be doing that with future classes. We're going to talk about the side effects. And then maintain your immune function, which is do what you can do to control it, is hand washing and food safety. That's what you have in your control. Sometimes your body just has its own mind over things. And then if you know that you're going to be having chemo, while you're still feeling good, you could do some things ahead, like making some soups and freezing them, and maybe some dinners, and label and date them, and put them in little individual containers. So that's accessible to you. And then you can think about what kind of snacks to keep on hand. We don't want you, it says stock up. I'm sometimes careful of that word because you don't want the expiration to go. So find a few things that work for you and then go from there. And then arrange support from family and friends to help with meals or even purchasing groceries. And that's where that Fox Valley Food for Health comes in. If that's going to be a challenge for you, sometimes people who live alone, it's really hard for them to have that energy to cook. So utilizing that program, if you're able to, is wonderful. Sometimes people have church groups or friends in the neighborhood that will do a meal train. I mean, that's wonderful if you have that luxury. So, but I think if you are having people help you, I would just make sure that they know that food safety is important. Sometimes it's like, know their kitchen kind of thing, So, yeah, and just that whole hydration thing's important. 8-ounce glasses of liquid a day. And that can also help with nausea, dry mouth, constipation, and diarrhea. Especially if a person has diarrhea, you have to replenish those fluids. And water and unsweetened beverages are encouraged to serve as your primary source of fluid intake. Others will count, but alcohol, that's a question you would have with your doctor, It's not, doesn't hurt to ask. It's just, it's not going to contribute to the fluid. Yeah, so it's washing, that fluid is washing the toxins out from chemo, and it just helps you feel better overall. A few other little things, like some people with breast cancer who are estrogen positive need to avoid an added ingredient called isolated soy protein. So we talk to our patients about that. I have to avoid that too. And where you find it is more in processed foods. So when you're using boxed things, look at the ingredient panel to see if it's got isolated soy protein. It's economical source of protein that food companies add to food to make the protein content higher. It's used a lot. So that's why we're always promoting using fresh foods, because they don't have a label and you're not having added ingredients. After a while, you just get the hang of it, where you just kind of shop more the outer perimeter of the store, where you're getting your fresh produce, your meats, your dairy, your breads, and you don't have to worry about that. So, yeah. And then soy itself, people with breast cancer can have soy if they want to. It's tofu, edamame, but we're not pushing it. It's your own personal choice if you like it and all. And then fad diets, people come in at all different levels, where we try to respect what they're doing. Some people might be on a ketogenic diet. Some people might be doing intermittent fasting. We'll just respect that, but it's not what we're promoting. So as long as people are getting their protein in and they're eating a variety of foods, a balance of carbohydrate, protein, and fat, maintaining their weight, then it's all good. And usually over time, people alter their ways and try to eat more of a Mediterranean way of eating if they're feeling well. So that's good. Yeah, so just some of the other things, we don't want anything rigid with diets. We just want you to eat healthy and enjoy food and feel good is our ultimate goal. And then, yes,
Have you ever read anything lately about fasting? Jason Fung has a book out and they promote 16-hour, or you could do more, but that it kills cancer cells.
yeah, I mean, we only practice evidence-based nutrition, so it could be a finding, but it's not, I don't know, I'd have to,
Scientifically.
yeah, yeah, so,
Okay.
it's a good question. I think if you're done with treatment and you wanted to try something like that and you discussed it with your doctor, that's one thing, but while people are going through treatment, we're not promoting something like that. But we try to meet people where they're at, you know, and, see what they feel best. But to me, that's a really long time to go without eating. All right, so the next class is going to be, how to make the most of each bite, which is where I was talking about increasing the fats, like a whole milk product to get the calories in, and also sidelining side effects. So we'll kind of get more into the different potential side effects and how to manage. But we do want to just say that we're very fortunate that the Northwestern Cancer Centers have a dietitian on site, which is wonderful because not all cancer centers do, and that we're always available to you. And if you're at a cancer center that doesn't have a dietitian, you can reach out through Living Well and we can link you up with, you know, a person, might be one of us to talk to. So, yeah, and then the next slide just talks about Northwestern Medicine Living Well Cancer Resources, other programs like the fitness, the yoga, fitness classes, nutrition consults are available, and then our culinary nutrition classes. We do have our website where there's a lot of recipes that we've done out there, and art classes too. And it's all about, the art classes are so nice because it takes your mind off of cancer. It's a distraction. And that's a big part of cancer treatment too, is decreasing stress and learning how to, you know, decompress a little bit too, and find a new hobby. And then the yoga and fitness is all keep your body moving, and then the nutrition. So it's kind of that trifecta of healthy ways of living. So we can open it up to questions. Does anybody have questions they'd like to ask? Yes,
Okay, maybe this is more appropriate for the next class,
okay.
but ice cream for dinner. I mean, literally, that's all sometimes I'm able to eat.
Well-
It's a little tiny dish.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So if a person is struggling to eat, you just gotta find what you can eat. And maybe what you could do with that Premier Protein, add the ice cream to it to make it more like a milkshake, just to get a little bit extra protein in there. But
I'll
that's,
just drink the Premier Protein.
okay, but I feel everyone's situation's a little different. And so if you're in that situation where it's really hard to even get calories in, we talk two ways. We talk Mediterranean, if you're feeling well, but we talk, you can have whatever you want, basically, just to get calories in and maintain your weight. So there might be a day where you are just having ice cream. But I do like, the positive thing is that you're drinking a nutritional beverage that has protein. That's gonna help get you the protein that you need. So it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I was
I
just
have a
gonna talk
question.
about a few of these. We do have a few products, like sometimes someone will say, well, I'm lactose intolerant, or so Orgain is a common product. It comes in a powder that you can mix with milk or even water. But there's two types. There's a grass-fed protein, so that's for people who can tolerate dairy, but there's also a pea protein. So a plant-based protein, and that's available. So you've got those two. They have about 16 grams of protein in this little carton. And then this is Ensure Plus, which is for, it's high calorie, high protein. It's got 16 grams of protein, but 350 calories. People with diabetes, this one would not be recommended. But then if you're trying to do carb steady for diabetes, Ensure Max is a good one. It's got 150 calories in it with 30 grams of protein. And then the Premier Protein is also for people who are controlling their blood sugar. So this one is 30 grams of protein, 160 calories. So these two are ones we promote a lot because they taste good and they've got that extra protein in it. But just know that there's other varieties too of, in case you have other situations. And then we also have these products called Unjury, which you can mix up in water. Some, like this is gonna be more of a savory thing. If you're tired of the sweetness and you want something savory, this is a beef and herb flavor. There's also a French onion one, a chicken flavored one. But the tricky part of it is you need a thermometer because when you do the heat part, you can only go up to 140 degrees and mix this in. Otherwise it can kind of curdle a little bit. So you have to be really careful. Have a thermometer when you do this. But this is giving you some protein too. And a more of a savory. So no hotter than 140 degrees. So first you heat up the water and then you add this. And then this one's unflavored. And this you can add to juices or other room temperature beverages. It's unflavored, but you're just getting a little extra protein. So it's 10.5 grams of protein in this little packet. And this one is the same. So those you can
what
order
is it called?
online, but the brand is Unjury. And there's a variety of others. We keep products on hand. We don't have Premier Protein at the Cancer Center, but if someone hasn't tried these and they're interested in trying some Ensure Max, we can give you a sample. So you try it first and then see if you want to get it. This is creamy peach, but it comes in a variety of flavors. So,
We have some questions. from the
Oh, yeah.
audience. The first one is, are we allowed to eat soy? What's the verdict? So there were. a
you
couple
can
of-
eat soy. Yes, soy is okay. Yep. It's just with breast cancer, estrogen positive, avoid isolated soy protein. That's an added ingredient.
Any other questions virtually?
I have a question.
Okay.
Earlier in the conversation, you were saying something that had 30 grams of protein and you can take it daily, but I never did get the name of what you were talking about.
Couldn't quite hear the whole thing.
But earlier in the presentation, we discussed something with 30 grams of protein you can take daily.
Oh.
It's the Premier Plus.
Yeah, it's the Premier Protein. Our bodies are designed, they can only absorb 30 grams of protein at one sitting. So that's why don't go any higher than 30 grams. Usually people need, I'm just giving you a ballpark figure, about 75 to 90 grams of protein a day, but it's all different body sizes. So we use it based on a person's height. We figure out their ideal body weight and multiply it 1.2 to 1.4 grams per kilogram. So if anyone's interested, I can figure it out for you here. But the dietitian always does that. Every patient they see, we do an assessment and we have the protein needs in there. So at your next visit, you can just ask, what are my protein needs? And we can tell you. But it's not super high. So we want you to have a balanced meal, which is made up of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. Remember that carbohydrate is complex and simple. Complex carbohydrate is what you want to be eating, which is the fruit, the vegetables, the whole grains. Simple carbohydrate are the ones you want to go easy on, and that's the sugar, candy, sweets. And then the fats would be try to use more olive oil, and avocado and nuts. But if you're struggling to eat, we open it up to butter and stuff like that too, because we just need you to get calories in. Yeah, any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, is there one or no?
How do you spell that one that you recommend? What's the name on it?
Premier?
Premier?
Premier or?
Premier, is it? Premier Protein, it's PREMIER protein. I was just gonna say, let's see here. So the next class
February 8th.
Thank you. I'm like, wait, what month are we in? It's the last day of January. It's on vacation. So February 28th
Yeah.
is how to make the most of each bite, and that's the 12 noon class. And then if you, anyone who wanted to watch this or tell someone about it, the next evening class is February 6th at 5 o'clock is this current one. And then the next evening class is March 19th, how to make the most of each bite and side effects.